Question coming out of this is how preventable are crashes like this? Today's crash brings to mind other notable incidents, intentional and accidental, where small planes have slammed into buildings. And to discuss this, we're joined by Raymond DeHaan. He is a flight instructor with a company called Aviation Adventures in Virginia. He's been an instructor 17 years, and before that, he was a commercial pilot. First of all, Raymond, let's talk about other notable incidents. You've got the incident today where this man crashed into the building in Austin. New York, October 2006, baseball player Corey Lytle crashed into a high-rise building in New York City, killing himself and another person. That was accidental. You've got Milan, Italy, in April of 2002, where a private pilot crashed into the Pirelli Tower. That was ruled most likely accidental. Then Tampa Bay, Florida, January 2002, a 15-year-old flight student, crashes a plane into the Bank of America building. That was ruled a suicide and intentional crash. Let's first talk about the intentional crashes today and also in Tampa in 2002. What is to prevent, from your perspective as a flight instructor, what is to prevent a private pilot from getting in his own plane and just slamming into a building from a security standpoint at these small airports?
If the airplane is a rental aircraft, I would say that there is a group of people that will dispatch the aircraft keys and the airplane. So there's definitely some scrutiny there before we hand out the keys.
But if the plane is owned by that person, like today's was, not so much.
If the airplane is parked in the hangar somewhere at the airport, they don't meet up anywhere else at the airport, anybody can take off, depending on where you are in the country, and you can fly anywhere you want.
Should there be more psychological screening for people applying for their private pilot's license and going through the classes to maybe detect suicidal tendencies?
I think that will be very hard to do, actually.
Is it more often kind of up to the instructor like yourself? You mentioned that you've actually done some of your own screening of flight students.
I have in the past pulled the plug on someone's training because I didn't like what I see at that point, and I reported to the FAA. So this person will not go in continued training. But there are, I don't know how many times you can see it and how many times you can catch something like this happening. It's up to the people that we see and to the flight instructors and the people that hand out the keys to make that decision, I would say.
Let's talk about the unintentional accidental crashes. You mentioned that after the New York crash, October 2006, Corey Lytle, the rules changed for flying around municipal areas, especially in New York City, right? The monitoring.
Yeah, personally, I've flown with the new rules in the New York area, and it is monitored. It is a tight area to fly, and I would say that I would not go over the East River, but fly over the Hudson River, for example.
But in a place like Austin, is it almost impossible to have that kind of monitoring like you would have maybe in New York after the Lytle crash?
Austin is a mid-sized airport. There's not the same amount of monitoring taking place as there is in New York or Chicago or Washington. And it's pretty tough to see something like this happen and be able to catch it on time.
I want to talk to you about another type of monitoring. Reagan National Airport has different rules for small planes, private planes who want to fly in and land at Reagan National. We've got an animation here showing kind of the flight path into Reagan National. You've got just some knowledge about this, being a flight instructor in this area. What does a small plane pilot have to do to be able to land at Reagan National Airport?
The pilot, as well as the passengers, as well as the aircraft itself, wanting to fly into Washington area, as in this case, National Airport, you'll have to, first of all, pick up a federal officer somewhere at an airport outside this area.
You've got to land at an airport outside that restricted flight zone and get some screening, too, right?
Absolutely. The airplane will be screened, the people will be screened, and if everything is okay, then you can continue your flight to the National Airport.
And is that practical to do at other airports? This is clearly a special situation, nation's capital. They've got to protect it after 9/11.
Absolutely.
Is it practical to do that kind of screening at other airports?
Not to this level, absolutely not.
All right, Raymond, thank you very much for your expertise. Wolf, some things to think about as we kind of mull over what exactly happened today and how it can be prevented in the future. Some things may slip through the cracks.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to be thinking about it, especially law enforcement authorities, aviation experts. Lessons to be learned. Thanks very much, Brian. Thanks very much for that analysis.